Hello, now we will be creating an app on Android Studio. Okay, so when we create a new project, this is more or less what we'd be presented with. We'll have our main activity over here and our activity main over here. The difference between the two is the main activity is the back end, which is where all of your code logic goes. The activity underscore main is your front end, which is where the user interface go. For this video, we will be looking at the user interface. Now, when you look at your screen, there will be a white screen and a blue screen. Most of the work we do will be done on the white screen. One of the first things we do is we click on the Hello World item, which is a text view. You can click on it either in the component tree or on the user interface itself, and once you have clicked on it, you press delete to remove it from the screen. Make sure you don't select, there you go, make sure you don't select one of the constraints, make sure you select the item itself. You have done it successfully once it disappeared off the component tree. Now when we work with a user interface, the first thing we need to add is a layout, and we will be working with constraint layouts in this course. So we click on a constraint layout and we drag it across to the main component in the component tree. We let go and our constraint layout is now lying on top of our screen. If you select it, you will see these dots appear on the four sides of the screen. Now we need to constrain this layout by going over to the right hand side panel and clicking on each of the blue dots on that square. We then double check that all the constraints are set to parent. In this case, all of them are set to parent. And lastly, we change the layout width to 0 dp and the layout height to 0 dp. Once we have done all of that, our layout is now ready to use to create our user interface. Let us start by adding a title to our screen, and we do that by dragging a text view onto the user interface. Now remember, this is a constraint layout, meaning we need to constrain all the items on the layout. We do that by dragging each of the circles to its appropriate side. Now, a general rule of thumb is that the left goes to the left of the screen, the right goes to the right of the screen, and then you either constrain the top to the element above it or the bottom to the element below it. Since we are working from the top down, we will constrain the title to the top of the screen. Now the first thing we do is we scroll all the way to the top of our element and we change the ID of it in the attribute section. So this is a text view and we abbreviate it to text view. This is on the main screen. As you can see over here, it says main and there it says activity main. Therefore it is on the main screen, and this will be the title of the first screen. So we change the name to title. The reason we name it like this is so that once we have multiple screens with multiple elements, we do not get confused when calling elements from the back end. We can hit enter and it will ask us to rename ID resource. We click on search in comments and strings, and we click on refactor. Now that we have changed the ID of this element, it should reflect over here saying TV main title. So that's text view on the main screen, and it is the title text view. Now let us work on the other attributes to make this element just fit in better. The first thing I'm going to do is create a space from between the top of the screen and the top of the element by adding a space, a vertical space in between these two. And we do that by going to the top attribute of the top constraint, and we add any number of our choosing. The greater the number, the bigger the space. So if I add in 10, it will move 10 spaces down. If I change that to 100, it will move 100 spaces down. I'm going to use 45, and that is my magic number when it comes to spacing elements from the side of the screen. Now I'm going to scroll down until I reach common attributes. In common attributes, I'm going to change the text from text view to welcome and hit enter. Now my text inside of my text view has changed to welcome, but it is very small. So I'm going to go ahead and inside of text appearance, if text appearance has an arrow facing to the right, you click on that right facing arrow and it will expand it down, and we will find text size inside of that attribute. I'm going to change it to 24. Now we have a slightly larger welcome message on the top of our screen. Next, I'm going to add a plain text edit text for the user to enter their name. However, let us first add another text view to label our edit text. So we add that text view below the welcome title. Now the first thing we do is we scroll to the top and we change its ID to text view because the element type is a text view. It is on the main screen still, so we change it to main, and this will be the first name label. So first name, and then we hit enter. We check the box for search in comments and strings, and we click on refactor. Now what we do is we constrain our element using these dots. We drag it to the left, we drag it to the right, and we drag the top to the element above it, which is the welcome, and now it is constrained. However, I want a nice big space between this text view and the title above it, so I'm going to add a space of 150. That will place this nice almost in the middle of the screen, and I'm going to change the width to match constraint. That will now place the text on the left side of the screen if your text is aligned left, but it will change the element to stretch across the screen from left to right. I'm going to now go ahead and create a space between the left of the screen and the left of the element by adding in a number over here, let's say 30, and I'm going to do the same on the right hand side to create an equal space between the left and the right of the element to the edges of the screen. Okay, so now we have our title over there, our label over there. I'm going to scroll down to text again, and I'm going to change the text to first name. You hit enter, and we are going to align text to the start of text. The difference between these two you will see as we progress through this course, but for now, align start of text. I'm going to change the font size just a little bit bigger. We're going to make it 16. Now once we click away, we can see our welcome is in the center and our first name label is below it with a sufficient amount of space to make your user interface look nice and neat. I am now going to drag a plain text edit text. This allows a user to enter information onto the app and allows us to process that information in the app. Now I'm going to first go and change its ID. Now this is an edit text element, so we can abbreviate to edit text, EDT. This is a plain text, edit text, so we can change it to text over there. It is on the main screen, so we add main, and this will be for first name, so we can change it to first name, and we hit enter. And then we click the box to search in comments and strings, and we click on refactor. Now our element has been renamed to edit text, text main first name. Now we can go ahead and just like before, we can drag these elements to constrain them left and right, and we will constrain this one to the element above it, and it will now sit where it is over here. I'm going to change the width again to 0 dp so it stretches from the left to the right of the screen, and I'm going to give it the same amount of space that we did for the element above it, which was 30 on both sides. Now our name element is the same width as the name label. Now we are going to scroll down and change the hint of our edit text to enter your first name. We could also go please enter your first name, and then we hit enter. Now this isn't going to show any changes up until we remove the text from the text attribute. In this case it says name. We will backspace that and hit enter. Now our message displays please enter your first name. We are going to center this text, so we go down to text alignment and we are going to align it center. Now we have our label over here and our edit text below it, and these are the same width. This text for the label is aligned left, and this text for the edit text is aligned center. Let us now repeat this process to add a last name element. So we are going to add a text view, and now remember we have our text view main first name. We are going to now have this ID go type of element is a text view. It is on the main screen, and this is the last name. We hit enter, check the box, and we click on refactor. Secondly, we constrain this element by going left, by going right, by dragging it up. I want a space between the first name and the last name. I will be adding a space of 35. I'm going to change the layout width to 0 dp. That will stretch it across the screen from left through to right. And I'm going to add the same 30 space that we have for the first two elements, which will make it the same width as the elements above it. I'm going to scroll down and change the text to last name and hit enter. I'm going to change the text size to 16. I'm going to align the text to start of text. And now we need to add the plain text field for the user to enter their name. So we drag it onto the user interface. We go to the ID. This is an edit text. It contains text. It's on the main screen. And this is the last name element. And we hit enter. We check the box and we refactor. Now we can constrain this element by dragging it left, by dragging it right, and by dragging it to the element above it. We will now change the width to match constrained, and we will add those same spaces we did previously to match the width of all the other elements. We will now scroll down till we hit hint. In the hint we will say please enter your last name. We will remove the text from the text field and hit enter, and we will center the text or align it center. Now our user interface contains a label for both first name and last name, and an edit text for first name and last name. Lastly, we will add a field for age, so we'll add another label. This will be text view main screen age. We hit enter, search comments and strings, refactor. Now we can constrain this element to the left, to the right, and above it. We'll add the same space we have for the element over here, which is 35. You can see that by this number on the blue screen over there. So we click on that, we add a space of 35 and we hit enter. Now we will change the width of it to match constraint or 0 dp. That will stretch it from the left to the right of the screen, just like the elements above it. And we will add the same 30 space as we have with the other elements. All these numbers I am using are up to you. There is no right and wrong number to use. Now we scroll down to the text. We will change the text to age and hit enter. We will change the text size to 16 and align the text to start of text. And now lastly we need to add the input field for age. And since an age is a number, we will not be using plain text. We will go down up until we find number. Now we can drag number onto the screen and we first go change its ID. So we have an edit text. This is going to contain a number, not a text, so we can call this edt num. It is on the main screen, and this is for age. We hit enter, we select the box, and we click on refactor. Now we can go ahead and constrain it to the left, to the right, and to the element above it. We go ahead and change the width to 0 dp, and we add a space between the left side and the right side of the screen. Now we can scroll down, we go to the hint, and we type out please enter your age, and we can center that text. And now our user interface looks like this. Lastly, we will add a button, and the button will take all of this information and present it to the user. So we go to buttons, we select button, and we drag it to the screen. First thing we do when adding an element is we change the ID. Now this is a button, so we can shorthand it to BTN. It's on the main screen, and this button will confirm all the information the user has entered. So you can call this button anything like confirm, you can call it next, you can call it save. This is all up to you as the programmer. Let us call this button save, and we are going to hit enter, check the box, and click on refactor. Now next we need to constrain this element, so we select the left and right, and now for a button we can choose if we want to constrain it to the top or to the bottom of our page. So in my case, I like constraining buttons to the bottom of the screen because a user's fingers are more likely and are more comfortable to be at the bottom of the screen than it is to be in the middle or top. So we constrain the button to the bottom of the screen so it floats at the bottom below all of these elements. Let's create a space. I'm going to make a space of 15, and now our button is placed nicely at the bottom of the screen. I'm going to change the width of the button to match constraint, and it will stretch across the screen like you see over here. However, this is up to you. If you want a smaller button, then you can wrap it to content. I, however, am going to make a custom sized button by selecting 0 dp, and I'm going to add a space of 45 on either side of the button and hit enter, and have a button that sits in the middle of the screen with nice spaces on both left and right of it. I'm going to scroll down, and I'm going to find the text attribute and change it from button to save info, and hit enter, and that will change the text on the button to save info. I am also going to scroll down to text size and change it to 20. Now Our user interface has all the elements we need to make it look nice, to make it functional. However, let's make it look nice now. So I'm going to go ahead and change the title up a little bit. I'm going to increase the text size of it a little bit. That's too much. There you go. I'm going to also change the font family to something that looks a little different. Let's change it to casual. Okay, now we can go and change the button color by going to background tint. Note how we have background, background tint, and background tint mode. To change the color of the button, we go to background tint. We click on the little pencil and we can select any color we would like by scrolling through our color over there and selecting a shade of the color you would like. I'm going to make it just plain green and I'm going to hit enter. Now our button is a shade of green and our screen has all of the elements we need. In the next video, I'll be showing you how to code up the screen to process the information.